Hi, this is Steven from BG Cast.
And this is Diana from Transcending Ascension.
And this is Esoteric Caravan. Well, guys, so we really hope you all enjoyed episodes 1 and 2 of Esoteric Caravan. And we have episode 3 coming at you today. And we're going to be talking about a topic that I myself, and I know Diana has too, have been very, very interested in during the course of our spiritual evolution. We're going to talk about the variants of human origin. So Diana, since I had a lot of talking in the last one, why don't you kick us off this time on your thoughts about these variants, about the variants of human origin, and how we have a lot of these different human origin stories that are kind of like floating through our spiritual community.
Absolutely. Because you find a lot of people getting in certain camps, right? The human loves camps. Even when they get out of Christianity, they still love themselves a good camp to nest in. And that comes in with the consciousness community as well, the spirituality community. Because there's so many different origin stories we all have, right? There's Atlantis, there's the Anunnaki, there's the Lemurian, there's all of the different versions of the Pleiadians and Tartaria, split conversions of timelines. Like, there's so many different things. So I end there on split conversions of timelines because that is where I find the true variance comes in. But also, there's also a large degree that people just need to acknowledge that humanity is far more complex than the human likes to realize. So meaning our consciousness knows of the variance of humans' origin, and it knows it just fine without any cognitive dissonance. But when the human tries to open themselves up to their actual immortal nature, to the fact that they've existed for so long, and this human story, this where we come from story, is all embedded within them. So as we learn and expand these variants of humans' origins, instead of worrying about which camp you fall in, learn them all and find where that can reside within you, because even what was real in the past once is real inside you now. If it wasn't relevant, it wouldn't have come up at all. You never would have heard about it. There's lots to the universe, I'm sure, that you don't know about, but it's not relevant to you. Everything that's relevant to you, you will resonate with, yes, but there's stuff that is relevant to you that you will also not resonate with, but it's still part of your journey of digging at that subconscious self. And the human origin story and the human subconscious self is really interconnected, especially in this world where we live in such secrets, such lies. We don't know a lot of even what's going on right in our own age, let alone in the previous ages. And it might seem irrelevant sometimes, but it is actually all 100% relevant as long as you keep yourself open. It helps your neural network, the all is mind power, actually operate at a more expanded level.
I completely agree with you. And one of the things I think that we need to take into account in our community when it comes to these variants of human origin stories, we need to start looking at them symbolically and literally. Yes, I know that might seem like a little bit of a brain twister for a lot of people, but one of the biggest things that I know Diana and I have both talked about on our shows in the past is how every figurative and symbolic thing has a literal counterpart and vice versa. So when we're talking about a lot of these origin stories, there is a lot of symbolism in them for our true divine nature. But we also know how God itself likes to work. God loves its symbolism, and it also likes to play that symbolism out in literal contexts. So yes, did Atlantis happen? Absolutely, I do think so. Is there some kind of historical fact to the Anunnaki story? Yes, I do think so. Same thing with Lemuria, same thing with Hyperborea. There's even the origin story of us all being from Hyperborea originally, and then us getting shut off and locked off in this world as some kind of experiment. You know, we've seen a lot of these different origin stories for humanity arise and come through our community. Even that Hyperborean one I just brought up is a little bit newer. I mean, if any of you guys have heard this before in an older sense, please let us know. But, one of the things that we have to take from this, guys, is we have to understand that we are very divine in our nature. And I personally think that we didn't originate from here. That's bottom line. And, the scientific community has us thinking that we just, that everything is just everything's coincidence here, and we just happen to come to be from these apes who one day just decided to evolve over these millions of years, or the courses of millions of years, to become these hairless. I mean, this is the thing too. I want everybody to think about, because I've jumped down this rabbit hole. Okay, very much so. And a lot of people know that I always said I still have my left butt cheek in the Atlantis rabbit hole, and I still very much do, and I think I always will do until I find a lot of the remember a lot of the answers that I'm looking for. But the one thing I will say is, in the concept of evolution, okay, it doesn't make sense that we evolved away from our natural environment. Number one, okay. So I mean, you look at us; we lost hair to don clothes. That doesn't make a lot of sense from an evolutionary standpoint. If we were truly of this world and of this planet, we would have a coat of fur that grew in during the winter. Okay, like a freaking winter coat, like most of the animals do here. And during the summer, we would shed, and we would lose that coat. Also, look at how fragile we are in this environment. How fragile. Doesn't make sense. Our ancestors can jump down from fucking treetops and land like 15, 20 feet on the ground and land on their feet. Why can't we do that?
Oh, we could, but we'd shatter a bone somewhere.
They walk away just fine. Like why do our ancestors, our chimpanzee, our ape ancestors can freaking land from trees 20 feet onto the ground and walk away unscathed? We do that, we end up freaking in the hospital. So there's a lot of questions that arise about our origins, and I think the biggest thing a lot of these stories and a lot of the mythos of the human origin brings with this is for us to question and really dive into our true nature. What do you think about that, Diana?
Absolutely. So one thing I'll get into on our true core nature that we can find resonance with is the fact that we are meant to land lighter on our feet. We are meant more to be. This is why
I like that, by the way.
Well, like how we're getting into parkour now. I think that's us getting into our truer core nature, because in our truer core world that we're more used to being from. So when Steve talks about like us emanating from here and all such things, like obviously our body grew here, but our consciousness that is being shined down through the prism that prints this reality is not of this world. Where there is like the animal creatures that are here, Mother Nature prints them up. They are of this world. We are not. We are emanating down and up. So we do have the human body that was grown on this earth, but the human body is seeded with angelic codes that raise our frequency to be able to encapsulate this higher soul that we have. And that's so the whole mission of us right now, and understanding these human variants, is to understand that we are seeded with higher consciousness coming from multiple directions, perhaps 7 different directions, if you understand the importance of 7 and the rays that we emanate down through, like the law of 1. The chakras are actually the rays we emanate down through. There is large amounts of truth in that. Each ray is a different realm that we shine down through. And then each different animal have their own different layers that they go through, but we are a whole different story than any physical creature we've ever found on this world. Is there other higher dimensional creatures that are higher capable or equally capable as us that we don't even see? Yes, and that's where we're going to start to phase shift over with that all is mind power into more cohesive realms that suit what our consciousness is meant for. So our body is more suited where this consciousness is meant to go. The whole reason of sending the angels down here to begin with, to seed the land. So the Atlantean stories, the Anunnaki stories, all these different stories, whatever they come through, what they are is the emanation rays that come down through to make us. So did those stories actually play out in this third dimensional world? Some of them perhaps, but a lot of them are allegorically true for what fourth dimensionally played out. Because as we know, or as you should know, the archetypical realms, your fourth dimensional realms, your thought realms are real. So all of the gods you know of, they're all real in these thought realms, and some of them touch down through here. We touch down through here. This is why we are emanations of the gods, because we touch down through here. and our physical body is here, but our consciousness is still living in those higher realms. And they go higher than fourth dimension, but fourth dimension is the one that is most closely related to printing here. So the same realms you go to in your dreams. This is why if you fuck up in your dreams, if you make a mistake in your dreams, and you were lucid in any way, shape, or form, you fucked up in real life. And that's going to play out in your real life. Like if you did something wrong in a dream and you were lucid, guess what? You still get karma for that. But that just goes to show you how energetically real we are, how much more energetically real we are than perhaps even physical. And this is what we're growing to. This is what meditation is for, learning the mind-body power is for, so that you can operate, let's just call it the quantum computer that is you. That's a term that I think most resonates, and I think that's why God made us. Computers, video games, and all the such, Wi-Fi, to teach us how we're meant to work. We're not meant to go into a computer age with the computers themselves. They are meant to teach us how we can and will operate on a divine path. When we understand where we emanate from and through, it helps us print out that future in the way it's aligned and meant to be, in a faster, more easy capacity.
And the one thing I want to add to that too, you definitely just kind of even cater to my point, Diana, what it means to look into your existence through a symbolic lens. Yes, a lot of this technology that is being released right now mimics human consciousness and the human body. I even had a guest on my show a while ago that even says the Large Hadron Collider is actually mimicked off of the human
Tell them what
spinal.
that is in case they don't
know.
So
if you guys don't know what the Large Hadron Collider is, it is in CERN in Switzerland, the particle accelerator, the biggest particle accelerator in the world. Is actually mimicked off of the human spinal column, a circle human spinal column, because one of the things we talk about in spiritual evolution is the cerebral spinal fluid and shooting it up the spinal column into our hypothalamus cavity to achieve these higher states of consciousness. So this is what this particle accelerator actually symbolizes. And even kind of what Diana was talking about too, how if you're lucid and you mess up in the dream world, you reap karma here. Well, guys, remember, the physical is a shadow of the energetic and spiritual. So that is what makes you more energetically real than you realize.
It's holographically printed off your own thought waves.
Exactly.
And our own collective agreements.
Well, what was interesting that Diana was talking about, excuse me there, everybody, what Diana was talking about on these angelic codes in the human body. I actually had an experience that showcased this to me, that a lot of us starseeds on this planet we're somewhat distantly related. And it sounds so one of the biggest things I used to talk about all the time was how if the elites, or the parasite class or the powers that were have this bloodline amongst them that they share, we as starseeds also have a bloodline amongst us that we also share, or what I would say is a genetic sequence, a genetic code. Back in the summer of 2025, I had a very ridiculous experience in my search of the answers for my true origin and the true origin of humans and my divine nature. And I will abbreviate it for everybody, but long story short, through a shamanic experience, I was taken aboard a living conscious ship, and I spoke to these beings who called themselves the Elohim. These beings I have interacted with quite a bit. Actually, throughout my life, I have interacted with these beings, and I am supposedly one of them. I do believe that to a degree. But I was shown how a lot of us starseeds, the Elohim here, placed a genetic sequence within our bodies that allowed us to be able to receive these higher dimensional consciousness, these higher frequency souls from other realms.
And if you remember the beginning of Jurassic Park, when they're telling you how they made the dinosaurs and the DNA coding sequence, you will understand what Steven's talking about better, but continue.
So this genetic sequence that they implemented into the human form is what allows these higher dimensional beings, which a lot of us are. That's one of the things I would like everybody who's listening at this point in time to take into consideration that we are these emanations of these higher dimensional beings. A lot of us who are spiritually awakened, who are star seeds, okay, we chose to come here. We chose to embark on this. And in order to do that, we had to hop into a human suit. This isn't like the days of old where things could come and go as they pleased. Now, in this age, if you wish to participate here, you have to hop in a human suit if you want to participate directly. If you want to participate indirectly, you can still choose not to hop in a human suit and sit on the sidelines and work from the sidelines. But nonetheless, the Elohim showed me that there is this genetic sequence that I carry, as well as a lot of other humans on this planet carry. We carry this within our source code DNA. And now we can even get into the fact that there's spiritual DNA and physical DNA, and there's a place of that intertwinement within the singularity of our own DNA.
You understand DNA is coding. Coding. Understand coding, because that really goes into us.
Exactly. So there is a singularity within our DNA that brings forth the immortal spiritual DNA that allows it to manifest inwards through our physical DNA. That's how it works. So in this aspect, this is the intertwined point, this genetic sequence of the spiritual and the physical DNA that allows us higher dimensional, higher density, whatever you want to refer to as beings, to manifest here, emanate through these human bodies. So this kind of even points a little bit deeper into the origins of who we are and who we truly are. And this is why a lot of people have said that we are angels with amnesia. What are your thoughts about that, Diana?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we consider the coding factor and how I said earlier about Wi-Fi, we need to understand Wi-Fi for our understanding. So let's peel this back. Okay, so I wanted to not have a cell phone anymore. I just wanted to have an iPad that had cell phone access, which I heard was a thing. Trust me, this has a point. But I looked into it. No, it can only be connected to your cell phone already, and then it's a code, and it's actually blocking that, but blah, blah, blah. Long story short, iPads are too close to a computer, and computers themselves are not allowed access to the phone system. When you access the phone system with an iPad or a computer, like your actual data networks, they are very, very limited and held off, because you could get in and hack systems that you wouldn't otherwise be able to hack through the phone system, and they don't want to allow that access. That's allegedly the law. Now let's consider that on our consciousness scale. The tablets, the computers are higher capabilities to emanate down into systems to integrate in higher codes. And we want to allow this in our sense. We want to allow this. And this is where meditation and things come in. So what Stephen's talking about, these codes, they can come from so many different factors. Now the elites, the quote-unquote elites in their bloodstream, guess what it is? It's the Rh negative. Guess what I have? Rh negative. Does that mean I'm an evil elite? No. Because the bloodstreams, the codes that come through us, nowadays, for us, from 1987 on, are more likely to only be coded for good. So our systems will only allow codes that are good. We are souls that came down here with algorithms that would only allow goodness. That's why even though some of us went into addiction, most of us that have done bad things, it only happened in and around those places, because that's what the starseed ends up being drawn to, because we are used to a higher frequency. This one is so starkly farking horrible that we'll go to things like drugs and alcohol to ease the pain. And a lot of us are out of that loop now, but we still find ourselves in this constant pain. But this is why we go to things like meditation to heal those incorrect codes, because you are a higher programmed computer sent down into a body that, because of your DNA part of the coding, is coded for lower. Even though your parents might have tried, they probably fucked up a lot. So you're coded for lower. You have a lot of ancestral trauma that needs to be fixed. But your higher emanation coding is like that of the tablet or the computer, where it is coded for higher, and it is sending you down higher codes. And there's no such law not allowing higher codes in. However, there is egregores not allowing those higher codes in. There is preset programmings that are not allowing those higher codes in. So what Stephen talks about, that we are capable, we are angelically coded, abso-freaking-lutely, and it's only up to you to find the errors in your pre-existing code, fix, reset, reboot, heal the system, deep breathing, meditation, yoga, whatever works for you, clean eating, to rectify your codes so that you can allow the higher codes of your emanation, of your higher consciousness soul to come in and to reprogram you for that higher existence that we are going to.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a visualization of what Diana was talking about too. So imagine this. So a lot of us have been pushed towards the light through a lot of the trauma and the pain that we experience. That's what ultimately pushed us towards the divine. We saw some of the deepest, darkest, muddiest depths that this reality had to offer. And ultimately what you're doing through that healing, so you remember the singularity point I talked about just earlier between the spiritual and the physical DNA, and how our spiritual DNA can actually alter and help heal and help grow the source code in our physical DNA. Through that healing that you do and the conscious evolution, what you're doing is you're opening that singularity more and allowing more of that spiritual DNA to come through and permeate towards your physical DNA, to upgrade it, to heal that ancestral trauma, to heal the childhood trauma, to help heal a lot of the darkness that you have been through that have built up these self-dement, self-sabotage systems in your operating system. Remember, we talked about the operating system in the first episode. So what you're essentially doing through this is you're opening the singularity even wider, and you're allowing the spiritual DNA to permeate even further into the physical DNA, to allow that angelic blueprint to fully come forth and manifest here in the physical realm. Remember what we talked about, guys. At least what I think, and I know Diana feels this way too. True ascension, at least for the time being, is channeling the higher self, the angelic self, into this existence fully, mastering this realm, this physical realm within yourself, and pushing yourself to the highest possible timeline that you could potentially push yourself towards for your spiritual evolution. And by doing this, you have to treat that. See, this is the thing. Science has you looking outwards for this singularity. It has you looking into the exoteric for this singularity. But everybody who's listening right now, understand that singularity exists within you. It's already there. It's just exploring it. It's realizing it. It's opening it and allowing the spiritual aspects of your true nature and your divine self to permeate into the physical emanation at its fullest. What do you think, Diana? Did I sum that up okay?
Yes. And ironically, for those that, the exoteric for us gets a bad light because it was only seen as exoteric. But the thing is if you are so deeply darkly tainted, if you were born from darkness and you knew darkness at such an early age, because think about your pre-programmed state, right? You are going to be pre-programmed in a way that needs a transcendence level that other people don't have to experience. And that's going to seem extra horrible to you. But guess what? That is extra like nitrogen in the tank. That is going to burst you forward with extra speed. The keepers of the flame. All that trauma does is help you become wiser. And I know that sounds awful, but think about how vapid people are that are traumatized. Think about how all those Nancys are that had great parents that loved them. Oh, good for you. That never challenged their authority and never came at them. Yes to you, son. Yes to you, daughter. Whatever you want, my loves. That's all well and nice, and we might resent these people. But guess what? They don't have the same catalysts for spiritual evolution. And who are these souls? What are these souls? Were they souls that didn't have karma to work off, that they get to start at a higher point? It's hard to say. There's a lot of people out there that can lead you thinking one way or another. But what I know is from my landing point. And this is why our visions of our origin stories of Atlantis, Lemuria, and all the such, they only matter on our inner standing, because the exoteric factors can matter. They absolutely can if you understand in the truest sense on the inside. Because think about feng shui. That's all exoteric, yet it's going to perfect your inner self. Your esoteric will be perfected by your exoteric esoteric. These things can actually work together when you're in your truest aligned standards. And that's so when we go into our variants of human origins and our emanations that come through in our streams that bring through, right? Because it's choice factors. One thing I always try to bring through to people is this is a free will universe 100%. Even if you choose to be accepting of tyranny, that's still a free will universe. So in these standards, we take the variables we have. So our abuse of our past, yet also the glorification of our future and of our truer soul paths, of our Atlantean bloodlines, of our Elohim bloodlines, our Seraphim bloodlines. Blood or not, because blood, plasma. We even know blood is plasma. And what is the physical sense of the higher spiritual? They exist in plasma. So they actually do exist in a physical, tangible way that you have seen, experienced in movies where they show things that are real that move through other things. That is more of a standard that we are used to. So there still is physicality in the higher realms. My point here is that you really need to loosen your standards on the variables of origin, because what matters is you now in this center point. Every single human is the eye of the storm. Now, if they choose to harness that power, they hold that power around them, and there comes a tension in that power, that those of us that were abused know how to hold that power. The same strength you used when mommy and daddy were fucking yelling at you is the same strength you can fucking deep breathe into and learn to accept when these higher emanations come down upon you. If you've ever channeled in your life, if you've ever felt a higher being come upon you, you can understand that it's taxing on the system. You actually have to hold attention to hold these higher standards. This is why we need to know our darkness, because when we are shining in these higher vibrations, our darkness will also, so let's say we're having a great day, everything's fucking going great, everything's sky high, you're doing your highest dreams, but then something goes wrong. You'd think you'd stay happy easier, and maybe for a moment or two you do, but when you fall, this is why a lot of us are categorized as bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder or straight up schizophrenia. They're all one and the same, and they're all twisted up fucking star seeds, because we can harness and hold so much power, but sometimes that makes us shit our pants and it goes like just crazy, and that's where we end up with these discombobulating things in our life because we can't hold the power. So learn, like Stephen says, your physical strength, your mental strength, your spiritual strength are all part and parcel. Your mental strength, so important to hold these higher streams, because the longer you hold them within you, the more chances they have to recode your older DNA, like Stephen was talking about, to birth forth quite literally your newer DNA. Like they say, they only understand 2% of the DNA, 98% is junk DNA. Yeah, well, my ass, 98% is unrealized, actualized potential for you to create for yourself.
So here's an example of how you hold this higher stream with you. So it's funny, as Diana was talking, I was actually finding a way to describe this to you guys, because I know a lot of you, when I did my symbolic lens episode, a lot of you picked up on it, but there were some of you who needed a little bit more in-depth detail, and I think I found a way to just deliver that to you right now. So you already hold a lot of higher streams with you due to the symbolism of God and existence itself. So here's a great example of how this works. So let's take Christ, for example, because I know you and I, Diana, we talked about bringing up Christ in this episode, so why not this be the time that we do that? So take Christ, for example, right? So look at Christ. So we know that this is how existence works. This is how powerful you are. Excuse me. And this is how powerful God is, and how God likes to manifest itself into the myriad of fractals of the symbolic and the literal. So let's take Christ, for example, okay? We know that Christ is an energy. Christ is a consciousness. Christ is also a part of our physical being. We talk about the prefrontal cortex, the Christ oil within us, the cerebral spinal fluid, and then Christ also having Christed figures throughout time. We know that there were many different Christed figures. Yeshua was just one. We know there were many others that existed, but this is how the spiritual manifests itself, and this is how you carry the higher streams. That you not only hold Christ within you, Christ is an aspect of this reality, and Christ manifests forth into this reality in the different streams of these individuals who embodied it. So this is how you look at the power that we have, guys. This is how we see these variants in human origin. The human origin exists within you, ultimately, and it manifests outward into the energetic, and the energetic manifests inward into us. Okay, it's that reciprocating cycle. And then you have the literal that manifests outward from us and also manifests inward towards us as well. So these are the streams that you carry. I mean, I've talked about the metaphysical anatomy before on my show. And Diana and I have done combined shows on the metaphysical anatomy as well. But this is just how you know you carry these higher streams within you. We have the physical counterparts to the energetic. We have the spiritual counterparts to the physical. This is how it lines up, guys. So take a look at yourself. The number 33, the 33 vertebra. 33 is not just a Masonic number that means bad things. Yeah. Remember, guys, symbolism.
Throwing out the baby with the bathwater on that one.
Yes, always. Symbolism is used. It depends on the intention of the person using it. When we are using the symbols for good things, for good messages, for good energy, okay, this is where we understand the light aspects of it. Sure, are the fucking parasite class using 33 in their context to try and manifest forth the timeline that they wish to see? Absolutely. I'm not saying that.
But collective consciousness controls symbols, so take their symbols and make them good.
As what God says, what you use for evil, I shall use for good. So exactly, this is how you harness and you utilize these higher streams within you, is understand that you are the fucking higher stream already. And that is just, it has been taken from you. It is the remembrance of that.
It's been blocked from you, not taken. Blocked mostly by you. You let them block it from you. You eat the poison food. You watch the news. You listen to them.
Exactly. So that's the thing, guys. Remember, I will say this, and yes, a lot of people say I beat the horse dead in this aspect, but in this case, it cannot be emphasized enough. This is a remembering. Yes.
An activation.
An activation, an actualization, a realization. Okay? At first you awaken, but then you remember. And then you know.
That's what gnosis means, dudes.
To know. And that's why Diana always says, I gnosis this, because, and that's actually one of my favorite catchphrases of hers, I gnosis this because that's what it is. Okay, guys, like you, it is all already existing within you. Okay, it is just the remembrance of it. And that is where I think a lot of us need to gear our focus and our energy towards, is not jumping down new rabbit holes, not jumping down the next newest conspiracy.
I mean, you can learn it, but you have to be sovereign and discerning when you do.
Exactly. And understand that this is just part of the bigger picture, the underlying spiritual nature of this reality.
I agree, and it increases the variance. So the more you go down these rabbit holes, it increases your variance, it increases your variables of all the things you gotta know, and all the things of, oh no. This is why we like to pigeonhole ourselves. Well, not me, but I'm the investigator in human design. I'm obsessed with knowledge to the point where it's hilarious, because I've had an experience myself going back to Christ. So I had this spiritual experience where I went into this basically other realm, and I was no longer in my body, but I still had physical sensation, and I was more just everything was I was in a realm where everything touched you, and you were just melting through, like abstract painting, but it was real. And I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know more. I lost who I was as in Diana, but my highest knowing didn't change, and my thirst for knowledge was predominantly at the back front of my consciousness, and I was obsessed. So I get to this place, and when I'm in these states, I always hold on to Christ, because Christ keeps you safe, and I know in these realms you can find a lot of demons and trickster beings. But guess what? They say if you want to know more, guess what? Christ isn't real, and you need to admit Christ isn't real. So I was like, okay, because you're actually really fast-forwarded in these times, and you just go with your inner knowing. You don't really overly debate things. And I was like, okay, Christ isn't real. I agree. Let's go. And I went through, and they showed me a ton more of how things work that just went on to align with my gnosis And it's funny because she actually came from Sarah, this gnosis thing, but I already had this because there's all these channelers claiming that I see this being, I see that being, oh, this being, that being, and that's all well and good, sure, but I only ever had me and my higher consciousness and my higher being, and it was in this gnosis-y way. I would read things, I would learn things, I would know things, I would get downloaded compact information that would be one picture or one phrase, and over the course of minutes or hours or days or months or years, it would continue to unpack into a bigger and deeper gnosis, never under the name of anybody or anything. It was always just my gnosis. And Sarah was the one who first said, like, because we would ask her, Stephen and I both talked to her multiple times. And
she's so cool.
She is. And I'd ask her, like, who told you this? Where did you learn it? Because I was always wanting to know exactly where my people that are still alive today, I'd want to know, where did you learn this? Who did you get it from? Where is it from, right? We all know Matthias de Stefano, my favorite, gets it from himself and his own higher beings. He used to work in the Department of the Akashic Records. That's a cartoony way of saying it. He says it much better. But so he knew he came in with this gnosis of the universe. But the thing is a lot of us have it. What Sarah has, what I have, what you have. Think about it. Thoth is Mercury. Thoth is a predominant factor of our circulating atmosphere of consciousness because Thoth is Mercury. Mercury circulates around us more than anything else besides the moon, and we all know how much the moon affects us. Okay, so right after that is Mercury, Thoth. Thoth is very much a part and parcel of our base level consciousness, if you think about it. So you have this access to Thoth, this Thothian information. And so this releasing of this Christ figure as real really did something, because I know Christ, and I know Christ consciousness, and I know the Christ the soil, and I know everything. And I wasn't even raised a Christian. This is just how much it's in our DNA that we needed to let go, because Jesus might be Jesus, but it's neither here nor there. He's one actualized figure of this Christ energy that Stephen talks about. But this Christ energy is as much a part of us ingrained, because it didn't matter that I said, okay, he's not real, great, and I learned all this stuff. When I came out of it, I was like, nah, he's real. You know, I didn't have to hold on to it. Like, it was all there, no matter what. It's all accessible. And it's funny because as you learn to go through these realms, there's certain things they want you to admit. Like, there were certain parts where I had, like, don't tell Stephen. I'm like, okay, I won't tell him. But I did. And it's like, they need you to go to certain spaces in your brain for them to tell you more. And what's to tell you, we're a computer? Because just like in a computer, because I know computers, just like in a computer, when you go want to upgrade certain parts and you're doing it, think of the Linux system, right? Where it's very manual and you can go in and do, it's all yours to do, make your own computer, right? We are a Linux. We are a make your own computer. You get to go into the different sections of the motherboard and upgrade them yourself based on the software you choose in your own variants.
Absolutely. I like, see, and I've always found out that the computer terms really work well and help give people a little bit of a good visualization, because I know a lot of us starseeds, we're visual learners, and when we can see something in our mind in a visual context, it's 11:11 right now.
I love you all.
I love you all, and I love you, Diana, freaking, but so freaking, and but. It is. The computer terms give a good visualization for people to understand, because if you can see it and realize it, guys, I've always talked about this too, how there's realization of the acquired, remembered knowledge. And what is that realization? The realization, and Diana has called it actualization too, which I think is...
You got to realize it, and then you have to actualize it, which is allowing that space in your mainframe to let it take root in your consciousness, which is your operating system.
Absolutely, and she says that very well, but it is. It's realizing. So, guys, when we realize something, it's when it clicks, right? We can know something on a conscious level.
Epiphanies.
Yes, epiphanies, exactly. We can know something on a conscious level, and we can carry it in our conscious mind. But for it to truly become an active part of our experience, it needs to embed itself in the subconscious mind, our subconscious aspect. So through the realization, this happens. When we have that epiphany, when we're looking at our existence through that symbolic lens, and we see the metaphysical principles playing out, clear as day, that clarity that takes us over, that is the realization. And then once we realize this information at the deepest core level of our true nature, that's when we begin to actualize it into our everyday conscious experience.
And to give that, like, sorry, but to give you the what that we mean by this. So take your borderline manic depressive behavior, okay? You're freaking out, you're screaming, you're freaking out, you're doing bad. Take it. But once you actualize the God self, now you take that same power, you're taking that borderline personality, and when you actualize, when you integrate, when you have these epiphanies, when you upgrade, that same power that came into you that made you go crazy is now coming through as those epiphanies, as those higher knowings. So deep breathe when you feel that energy. Don't freak out. Instead, sit with it. Even if you have to feel like you're dying and screaming on the inside as you sit in the fetal position on the floor, don't scream and let it out in any negative way, because you'll ruin it. You'll ruin it. To do what Stephen's saying, to actualize into that higher self, you need to suck up the darker nature, allow that higher energy to just freaking destroy you sometimes, and out of it you will birth anew.
You know, I want to bring something up as we're drawing close to our destination here. There's a little bit of high strangeness that happened in our episode, Diana, and I was actually kind of, as you were talking, paying attention to it. So my back window kept rolling itself down on its own. Oh, that was you? You kept rolling? How were you doing? Were you reaching around and doing it?
Yeah, because I like a window open, but I didn't want the front window open.
Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. All right, cool. At least that cleared it up, because I'm wondering, I'm sitting here, I was always like rolling up the back window, and I'm like, how is the back window consistently rolling itself down? I am not doing that. I almost was like, whoa, is there something with us that's just wants us to have some air while we have this conversation? But it was Diana herself. So, but nonetheless, I digress, but we're back to what we were talking about. It is, guys. And this is how we start to move towards the realization and the actualization, as we start to implement those metaphysical and spiritual principles into our day-to-day lives. We start to view our worlds through the symbolic lens. We start to have that understanding that this outward experience that we are having is a mirror of our internal one, and they are intertwined.
Meaning you can be amazing. You can have whatever life you want. It doesn't have to look like what you've seen. We're going to be here to invent the new.
Absolutely, guys. And that new is going to come forth through that new perspective that we cultivate through implementing those metaphysical and spiritual principles into our everyday lives. And that's where the new perspective will take
Your new perspective is your new paradigm.
Absolutely. New perspective, new paradigm.
New reality of existence.
Tomato.
New life.
Tomato. I love it. I love it. Alrighty, guys, we have just pulled up at our destination. I want to thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Esoteric Caravan with Diana and I. We look forward to bringing you more really cool conversations here in the future, and we hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you enjoyed, give us a like and a subscribe, and we will be uploaded to Forbidden Knowledge Network here shortly as well, so you will be able to check out our podcasts on FKN. Alrighty, guys, have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you all soon.
Love to you all. Bye.